Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Bakhair agale, ni hao, chulishumbe, washmale, ohio gozaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shamachatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabiab, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. Thank you so much for asking. What about you? And why do we have like this extra energy today? Did you have like extra cups of coffee?
No, there's a reason that there's a reason why I possess this energy as of today as well, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, I'm doing perfectly fine, and we hope and pray that everybody who's out there who's fighting against COVID-19 or any other disease or any other menace, ladies and gentlemen, may all your worries go away as soon as possible. With that prayer, with this prayer, we're actually going to get started today as well. And the sole reason for having or possessing this energy is because of the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, just a while ago, I was actually asking Shiza that what were we doing when we were 18 years old, or what were we doing when we were 21 years old. I think that we were only riding bicycles on the roads or probably doing some other stuff which youngsters do. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we're very proud that we will be actually sharing success stories of youngsters who've actually made big, and they've made big to a level where they've actually been awarded by an award which is in memory of Princess Diana as well.
Wow,
and
brilliant.
not just that, we've actually been joined by somebody, we will be in the later half, who actually came up with this idea of having an online platform with the name of Alloy. And what Alloy does is that, ladies and gentlemen, since it's COVID-19 times as well, so people were actually looking forward to receiving some PPEs or health cares and health providers. And we know that there was a dearth of all these PPEs and medicines and all of these things. So this platform, this gentleman who has actually created it, ladies and gentlemen, helps people bridge those gaps as well and get all of that equipment which is necessary and important. And not just that, he's even got a mention in the Johns Hopkins University as well.
Wow.
But not just that. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, since we have to do it very quickly because we have a larger number of guests today and we want each and everybody to speak their heart out. Right now, in the first phase, what we're going to do is, Shiza, do you want to tell or do you want me to share?
Yeah, just go on.
All right,
Because
so
we have
ladies
a
and
nice
gentlemen,
momentum
this,
right now.
this amazing gentleman who actually joined us over here in the studios today happens to be a researcher and an entrepreneur. He did his degree from Tangjiang University in China, and he was there when the lockdown actually started. Finally, he's made it back to Pakistan as well. But we really need to know whether the Chinese people did comply to the SOPs given by the government, and how did they actually help the government to make sure that the burden will be reduced and that the lockdowns will be over soon as well. And to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Mr. Muaz Awan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, ni hao.
Walaikum assalam, and 我很好
Han hao nina.
我也非常好
But that's
Okay,
it. I think that's I think this is it for me with Chinese, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get back to English.
Right. So sorry. So Moaz, first of all, we're really happy to have you here safe and sound. And
Thank you very
well, thank
much.
God you're healthy as well. You were there in China when this whole pandemic started. And when it started in China, it wasn't even declared a pandemic. So first question, did you expect it to be this big?
well
Or was it this big in China already?
well the thing is that this pandemic started somewhere around the
November, I guess.
November last year, November, and the information was not out until maybe end of December,
Yes.
when the Chinese authorities actually communicated this whole scenario with the WHO. And it wasn't until 15th or 16th of December
Right.
that the government actually announced that human-to-human transmission for this virus was possible. And that is when, the Chinese people, without any SOPs, I have to repeat, like, without any SOPs, they rushed to buy masks and hand sanitizers. And there was like a massive, public information campaign, not from actually the government, but from the people themselves. So I have to say that before the government actually announced any SOPs or announced any lockdowns, people were ready.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that this was a sort of a mass information sort of thingy going on, well, that happened in Pakistan as well, but I have to correct over here, it was misinformation, a lot of it, and that too because of WhatsApp, Shahzad. People just really want to forward something at the risk of, being the informer without checking their facts straight.
checking.
But all right, so a lot of friends of yours also study in China, and they were stuck there as well.
Yeah.
How long were you guys stuck?
Well, actually, these Pakistani students have been stuck ever since. It's been like six or more months that they've been living there. I have to tell you that the Pakistani students in China had made a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
What was their sacrifice? And I think not a lot of people in Pakistan actually recognize their sacrifice, is that there was chaos. There was major chaos, and nobody actually knew what is this virus capable of. The information we have right now is that, you know, you need to stay like 2 meters apart. You can use hand sanitizers, but at that time people were not fully aware, and you know, there was like a mass hysteria that, you know, this virus is all over, you know, in the air, and you can go outside and you'll get it. Yeah. So what sacrifice they made is that they did not return to Pakistan. And these are about 20,000 plus students. Just imagine that if these students would have been allowed or would voluntarily come back, they would, Pakistan's number right now would maybe reach 1 million.
Right,
so I think they made a great sacrifice, but maybe unfortunately those sacrifices couldn't be utilized because, some of our other Pakistani, diaspora from the UK or maybe from other places came back, and that happened.
Yeah, so it was.
But we did make the sacrifice.
Alhamdulillah, and there's a rich tribute for all of those people who've actually made these sacrifices as well.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I think that it would be very unfair to have a comparison in between the Chinese government or the Pakistani government as well, because we are still actually struggling to be amongst the developed nations as well. But not just that. I think what we can compare ourselves with is whether Chinese people did comply to the SOPs after a longer time when they were actually given those SOPs as well. And do you think, in your rightest mind, that Pakistani people are actually complying to the SOPs given by the government as well? As far as Islamabad is
my
concerned,
smile tells it all.
That's what I was about to
no,
say.
but as far as Islamabad is concerned, every now and then if I go out, if I have to go out, I see that people are wearing their masks.
Oh,
Yeah. First of all, let me actually tell you that China is also a developing country.
Yes.
So, if we say that it's a developing country, then we can actually be somehow compared to China.
Exactly. No, I was just thinking about the foreign reserves.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So the thing is that Chinese people are very self-disciplined. The government of China has the trust of the Chinese people.
Right.
Well, you look at past 30, 40 years, the Chinese government has delivered. There have been millions and millions of people who have been brought out of extreme poverty, and now they have, an average, buying capacity of around $10,000. And I think Pakistan is around 1,200 to 1,500. I'm not sure about it. But we're way down. Our neighbor is around $2,000, so they're at least 10 times much richer. So the
Hence developed.
Yeah. So the people of China have the trust. The government of China has the trust of the people. So whatever the government tells the people, they do they do it, and they're very self-disciplined and they're very responsible because the literacy rate is very high, and also because China had an experience of SARS back in 2004 or 3, I think.
Two or three.
Two or three, yeah.
Okay.
So they know that, they knew that this thing is very serious, and they had, past memories, they had past experiences, and then they went into full lockdown mode, not talking to people, not going outside, having no activities, and also the government actually facilitated, the people in lockdown.
How did they facilitate though?
Well,
were they providing all the, let's say, essential items?
Well, the essential items were provided. They had a force, which was not named the Tiger Corona Force, but actually the Tiger Corona Force is task force. Sorry, is actually modeled on something which the Chinese actually did.
Okay.
And I hope that I know the government is trying, and I know it's a very new concept for Pakistan, but the Chinese are very good at combining people and doing all this for voluntary stuff. So they did a great job. So every apartment had a central location, and these groceries would be sent by the government or arranged by the government through the volunteers, and these volunteers would place all these groceries on the front doors, and people would just open the door, pick up their groceries and
Yeah,
stay
go back.
inside. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
brilliant.
that's wonderful, and I hope that one day we are actually at a point where we can actually provide such comfort to the people of the
And
country
and
as well.
and I would actually like to add something over here, which is very important. Well, the secret to the Chinese controlling the virus is not that they're they're of course they're very organized.
I don't know whether we should actually call it that they were able to control it, because it's in more than 180 countries now.
Yeah.
But the
So I don't think
the-
that whether it was controlled
Oh.
or not.
Well, the thing is, they're only responsible for their own country,
Yeah.
frankly speaking.
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
They can advise other countries, but they cannot impose.
And
Of
there's
course,
a
their
second
sovereign.
wave already.
There's already been a second wave, but the point what I'm trying to make is that, the people trust the government, and one of the biggest things, in controlling this virus is tracing,
Yeah.
tracing the infected people, and in China, everyone was reporting that who is infected,
Who met who? Yeah.
who met who, and this is how the government got metadata, big data, and then they analyzed it, and then they quarantined the infected people. This is how they controlled it.
yeah, but that at
But
the
in-
risk of massive invasion of privacy as well.
Well-
on another note.
Well, this is
Part of the
It's-
game.
this is part
I
of the
mean,
game.
Yeah, and it was essential, ladies and gentlemen. And to be very honest, whatever Pakistan could do, they did do it as well, because I kept on getting calls from the DHO's office, which is the district health officer as well. But very quickly,
Yeah.
Shiza, one last question which I have to pose to Moaz is that I don't know, since you're a researcher, so you actually have to make us aware about this fact as well. They say that the virus actually originated from the food market, or I don't know, Wuhan or somewhere.
Right.
And there was news in between, I don't know whether it was authentic or not, that Chinese people were saying, and they were committing that we will actually stop eating all of what they were eating, so that we make sure that the virus does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
But recently I was in conversation with a friend of mine, and he said, man, they're still eating whatever they were eating, and they're like, whatever happens, we are still going to eat
course.
it. Is there any scientific reason behind us saying that it was originated from the food market, or was it because of the food intake the Chinese people have been doing? Was it the bat? Was it the snake? Who was it?
Well, conspiracy theories would come out
Yeah.
even 100 years later. But what we do know now is that there was a research, I think like a week ago,
Yep.
and they said that in Spain, maybe University of Barcelona did an experiment, and they saw traces of COVID-19, in the sewers of Spain. This is 1 year ago. So we actually do not know how this virus came, or where did it originate from. Now you know that clearly that the world is actually going into different poles. You have the European Union, you have the Eastern blocs, China and Russia, and then you have the U.S. So everyone is on a blame game.
Yeah.
Right.
So no one actually knows how how this originated. And I have to tell you that in the World Health Assembly, President Xi Jinping of China, he announced that there should be an investigation after all of this is closed down. People are quarantined, and
Mr. Trump already calls it Chinese virus. So
well, this is a politically motivated
course.
thing,
Agenda.
agenda, and Mr. Trump, of course,
Takes
relies
his
a
word.
lot on politics, and that's why his country is ravaged by COVID-19.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not great anymore,
It's
but thank
not
you so
great.
much for being here. Thank you so much for
Welcome.
sharing all the knowledge you have. I know we have to head out to a short break, but very quickly, please make it short, but I want you to answer this. In Pakistan, whoever is diagnosed with the COVID-19 as well, there's a certain stigmatization going on as well. Of course, you don't want to meet them, special isolation, and, sort of belittling going on, and you know what I mean. So was that happening in China as well, especially you guys being Pakistanis and then being there in the quarantine time and zone as well? Was there similar acts of stigmatization?
Well, I don't think so, because for at least 2 months, the Chinese, declared a lockdown, and no one could, meet each other.
Okay.
But right now, the life is actually back to normal, and people can interact. Of course, there was like a second wave, but it's
Right.
also under control right now. So there was not, any stigma or
So everything's
racism.
fine.
Oh,
Everything is
brilliant.
fine. Everything is working normal.
That's very reassuring. Thank you very much, Moaz, for being with us. It was
Welcome.
lovely to have you. And whenever you have a new research to share, please make
Pleasure.
sure that you do join us on the show too as
Pleasure.
well.
Pleasure.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll actually head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we'll actually be witnessing two amazing youngsters who've actually achieved quite a lot for their own community and made sure that they're going to make Pakistan a better place to live. Let's go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be
right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with Shazad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, where today on the show, like almost every other day, we love to inform you and educate you. And in the first segment, we spoke to a very fine gentleman who was in China when coronavirus started, and well, he was sharing his research and information with us. But right now, we're going to take a moment to actually appreciate the brilliant, brilliant youth of Pakistan who's making a great name for the country. And Shazad, do you want to do the introduction?
Yes, exactly, ladies and gentlemen. So this is somebody who's actually working to make sure that everybody over in Pakistan is actually going to get the right of education as well. We know that we have got more than 2 or 3 million students who are actually out of school, but not really student kids who are out of school, and they really need a place to go and get education. So here we have a solution where Miss Raina Khan Burki actually is one of those Pakistani heroes awarded awarded an award in the memory of late Princess Diana as well.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Miss Raina Khan Burki over Skype. So let's see if she can hear us. Assalamu alaikum, Raina, and congratulations.
Congratulations, Raina.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can
know,
absolutely hear you.
You have constantly made us proud as well.
Absolutely.
You were here on the show too as well alongside your father, and you're not stopping, and there's no stopping at all. Tell us, how did you get your hands onto this award?
The best thing about getting this award is that I did not work for it. I did not expect it. The youngsters don't have to apply for it. So it's something that you get for your journey. It's something that they give themselves, right? So that's exactly what Diana herself said. She said that when you do something good, you don't expect something in return. And this is exactly what the charity itself is following. So young people are working, their stories are being heard, their stories are being recognized. They don't know that one day they'll get a call, they'll get an email, and they'll be told that their name is getting associated with the Princess Diana. And that is exactly what happened here.
Wow.
That's brilliant, Raina. But you know what? We know that, mashallah, you run an organization that you created for yourself. It's called Zanana Foundation. You're providing education to out-of-school children, and you're also sort of helping the underprivileged women to, supporting their business and everything. So tell me about it. How far along are you with your plans? And was it the Zanana Foundation that got you this award? I mean, your work for the foundation?
And before you answer, you know, it's like we actually want to pay you a rich tribute as well. So actually, we're going to clap for you.
Yes,
because you've
it's
done
brilliant.
a wonderful job.
And mashallah, we do know that the award is also recognized by the two princes.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I received this award for my work, for my efforts in female empowerment, pre-education, social entrepreneurship, and health and hygiene. So the Zanana Foundation doesn't only focus on providing young children and adult women with pre-education. It also works towards, providing free health facilities. It works towards opening up vocational training centers. Zanana has been working since the past 3 years. But this time around, it got recognized, and
Mashallah.
that's truly, truly humbling for me.
All right, Raina, one more thing though. I know that you are always sort of, I want to use the term woke about whatever's going on in the society as well. But in these corona times, was the Nana Foundation doing something specifically for people suffering from COVID-19?
So first, we started off with donating the ration packs like every other charity was that I know of. But
Okay.
now we launched this very initiative only a few days back, and that
Mm-hmm.
initiative is going to help the house help. So if you have a female employed at your house, if you have a domestic household helper, you can just connect her with us via Skype or Zoom, and our volunteers will be teaching them. We will be making them aware of their rights. We will be educating them, and we will be telling them about how this world really, goes on.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. And actually, this is the kind of right information that we need today as well.
Exactly, but not just that, Raina, there was one more thing which we wanted to talk about, and that is that, while we were going through your profile, and you've been on the program earlier as well, and you've told us about all of your initiatives, they are amazing.
Yes.
But not just that, at such a young age, achieving so much and doing so much for the community was something which actually made me question my own instinct as well, and why I was unable to have such an instinct where I would have actually helped the community. Even though at the same time, every other morning we make sure that we make the communities more aware and more knowledgeable as well. But what was that one thing in your brought up which actually made you who you are today?
I think my brought up wasn't an ordinary one. So while
Wow.
most of the girls grew up listening to fairy tales like which have princesses like Cinderella's and Snow White's, I grew up listening stories to revolutionary princesses like Princess Diana herself. So we do not follow the stories the Disney world shows us.
So I guess that's where we went
We
wrong.
did
Yeah.
not grow up in an atmosphere which told us that you have to wait for the day you get married. You have to wait till you find a man who help you explore the world, do stuff for you. We were told that we have to make our own place in this world. We have to set up our own legacy. We don't have to wait for someone to validate our existence. We have to do it our own selves. And that is
Wow,
exactly what I did. Yeah.
Wow,
brilliant.
that's wonderful. So one last question for you, Raina, since we have one more guest to actually entertain on the show today as well. He even happens to have done something very amazing so that the gaps in between the healthcare providers and the health equipment providers is actually being fulfilled as well. But one last thing which I'm going to ask you is that, you saying that, we have grown up listening to stories like Snow White or the Sally or Red Riding Hood or whatnot. And your brought up was very different because you were doing something else and it was very amazing and it has helped you shape your own instinct and then do something better for the society as well. But what I'm going to ask over here is that, it's for everybody out there. Everybody wants to get married, everybody wants to have kids, and we have had examples within, we have even had people over here on the show who've actually been married first and then have done quite a lot for the country. So I don't think that marriage or, doing whatever you want to do is actually a hurdle in between community service.
Yeah, but that's
Exactly.
her view as well, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, we can agree to disagree too. One last thing before you leave us, Raina, thank you so much for being here. So last time when your younger siblings were here on the show, they mentioned that you are your dad's favorite. So you tell me now, is Adil Worki like really proud of you, especially after this award?
He is.
He is.
Of
So
honesty.
while everyone was sharing my story, while everyone was, showing love and sending in all the support, he is that one person who is tagging all of his friends in the comment section below, all of them. And he's never done that. He always
Aw,
ends up saying Alhamdulillah and Mashallah, but this time around, he is very proud indeed.
Wow,
wow,
that's
that's
wonderful.
brilliant.
And not just him, I think the all of Pakistan is actually proud of you, Raina. Make sure that you keep at it and make sure that bring that positive change within the communities with the help of education and with the help of your entrepreneurial skills as well. Thank you very much, Raina, for being with us. We are really
Thank
proud
you.
of you. Bye-bye. Look
Thank
after
you.
yourself.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Raina, and she was sharing her story as well, how she got her hands onto the award. She was like, you really do not even have to submit anything. You start doing things and people will come and they will acknowledge your efforts.
That's
And I think
beautiful.
everybody requires acknowledgement, and this is
Yes.
our sole duty. In fact, our responsibility to acknowledge all of those people who've done some great effort in making sure that the community is going to come together and that the community will be inclusive and that education will be for everybody out there as well. We're going for a short break once again, but once we come back, we'll be actually in conversation with that person who built that bridge on social media platforms where the health caregivers and the health equipment providers were bridged together in these testing times because there were no PPEs available. In fact, there was a shortage of pulse oximeters, there was a shortage of injections, there was a shortage of antibiotics, there was a shortage of everything almost. So, ladies and gentlemen, how did they do it? Is something which we'll be asking. And how did he come up with this idea? Because he still is doing his MBBS and he's in third year.
Yes.
Wow, what a brain. Let's do this. Good morning.
Well, welcome back to Well This Morning again, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Shazad, in the first segment when we were in conversation with Moz, he mentioned that China recovered quickly because of the smaller amount of social contract they have between the masses and the government as well. Unfortunately, there's a massive social contract in Pakistan. You know, the voice directly does not reach to the higher authorities because of the massive gap, as I already mentioned. So this is where the community itself comes in. And, you know, this is where the youngsters with a brilliant mind come in to, you know, join those or bridge those gaps and will have an effective result as well. This is what we are talking about right now. Shazad, who do we have with us?
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the founder of Alloy. Ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be a medical student. He's an avid researcher as well himself, and he's doing a wonderful job. And not just that, I think that all of this actually comes under the umbrella of the student task force as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the very energetic, the very amazing, and somebody who's actually saved the lives of millions of people out there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hamza Thobani. Hello, Hamza. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Good morning,
Walaikum
Hamza.
assalam. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. How is everyone this morning?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. You have emerged as a hero, lady. I think that this is something which everybody needs to know, and I think that in these times, it won't be fair enough that if we do not call you the Robin Hood of these times as well.
Yes.
So how did you come across such an idea, and was there really a dearth of all of these medical supplies in the market?
So one thing I want to start off by saying is that this has never been an individual effort. It's never been just me in this platform. So we have a team of incredible volunteers, incredible medical students, incredible allied health science students across Pakistan who have helped kind of make this a reality. So it's never just been an individual effort from any of our parts. As for your second question about whether there's a dearth of medical equipment, most definitely. So the one thing, and I would say the reason that we started Project Alloy, the reason that this idea was thought of in the very beginning was because you had images of doctors, of nurses, of health staff all across social media, all across the internet, literally wearing plastic bags, trash bags in order to keep themselves safe. Basic things which, a year ago as a medical student, I would find, all of us would find in clinics, in hospitals all the time, things like masks, things like body gowns, those were never in shortage before. Over the past 2 to 3 months, that equipment, because of the massive increase in demand, because of how incredibly infectious COVID-19 is and how much equipment it is required to keep health professionals and doctors safe, that equipment is starting to and has in the past few months almost disappeared from markets. So that
Right.
is why essentially we created Project Alloy. That is essentially why this idea came about in the first place, because we knew that there is equipment, that there are things right now which keep doctors and nurses safe, but they quite simply didn't have access to them. So we wanted to try and fix that.
Right. Hamza, this was going to be actually my question, that was there really equipment, or were you like creating new equipment as well? But thank you for answering that. Did you, or actually, who came up with the idea of Alloy, first of all?
Yeah.
And when you thought of it, did you like ever in your life realize or think that I'm going to have a business and that too I'm going to be a social entrepreneur? Did you have an idea about
And
it?
why the name Alloy?
Um, so, so multiple questions here. I'm going to start off with the first one as to who founded Alloy exactly. So it was five medical students from Aga Khan University, and what they essentially did was they created a volunteer organization called Stack 19. Now, Stack
Okay.
19 stands for the Student Task Force Against COVID-19. And I think I can speak for their behalf over here. When they started it, they had no idea that it was going to get so big. So at the moment, we have, I would say, 700 volunteers from across Pakistan, from
Okay.
medical schools, from allied health science schools, computer science, business across Pakistan, who kind of help make this a reality. Now, Stack 19 is an umbrella organization, and it caters to multiple aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So things like mental health, things like elderly care, things like critical care medicine, ICU medicine, all those things come under Stack 19, and we have projects right now that deal with all of them. As for Alloy specifically, that was always going to be one of our most important projects. It was something that we had always envisioned was going to be big. And to answer your question, no, we've always wanted and we've always hoped that it was going to get as big as it is right now. We'd always hoped that we would be able to launch. And I think that we weren't sure if it was actually going to happen. And now that I'm here, now that it's actually happening, it's just so great. And it's Alhamdulillah, we're very proud that we've gotten this far, and we hope to go even further.
Yeah, and
Well,
every time you utter a word, it just makes me smile, and there's a reason, and I'm going to mention that as well. That it was very kind of modest of you to actually say that it was a team effort, and obviously, to run such a bigger platform, obviously needs a bigger team as well. And but then at the same time, where credit is due, it's due. Now, what I'm thinking is that we have seen that a lot of people earlier in the first phase of the COVID-19, when we got to know and the lockdown was actually applied, we saw that just because of the shortage of PPEs, a few doctors even had to actually, they contracted the virus, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, they sacrificed their lives in the line of duty. Now, what I want to ask is that for somebody who's actually a student of MBBS, even though that you're actually in one of the most highly reputed universities, what does it take for somebody who's actually in the third year of MBBS to come up with such a brilliant idea, but yet then there are people who've actually had 40 years of experience in medicine and they still couldn't think of it? How did all of that happen?
That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say that the people who have 40 years in medicine, wouldn't have thought of the idea. I would say that the biggest factor, the biggest thing that we have going for ourselves right now is time, time on our hands. So people who have 40 years in medicine, the reason they've been there for so long is because they're practicing, as ICU doctors, as surgeons, as pediatricians, as whatever they do to kind of help people and to save lives. So I think that as medical students right now, most of our universities have been called off, as which is the case across Pakistan. So with time on our hands, essentially, is how we were able to take again the time out and to actually think of the idea, to conceptualize it, and to make it a reality. As for the more technical aspect of it, so I want to take a very brief opportunity here to explain what the platform is and how it
Yes.
runs. So, Project Alloy, essentially, very simply put, is an online platform that connects suppliers of PPE and medical equipment. So, the suppliers could mean anything from manufacturers, distributors, donors. So, it connects those suppliers to hospitals and to healthcare workers themselves. All right.
Right.
And essentially, so the way that we like to explain it is that, so if you need, let's say, I don't know, a book, all right? If you require a book, you can go online, go to daraz.com, go to any e-commerce website, and just quite simply buy it. Now, we perform the exact same function, which is that it's an online platform, readily available, easy for use, with two very important distinctions. The first distinction is that Project Alloy is always and will always be free of cost. So we never want to make any money off of other people's suffering. And the second difference is the actual equipment we supply. So it's all of it is life-saving personal protective equipment. So in terms of the technical aspect of it, this has again been an entirely student-run effort. We've had business students, we've had IT and commerce students kind of help us create the whole model on which we run, create the platform on which we run, and we've definitely had help from outsiders. In fact, this is one thing that I really, really, really want to stress on, which is that I don't think that any of this would have been possible without the brilliant mentorship, the brilliant help that we've received throughout. Every single time someone heard about this platform, whether they were a doctor, whether they were an IT professional, when we told them about it, their first instinct would be to help, to give us advice, to tell us, okay, you guys are doing this wrong, you should do this instead. And that advice has been incredible. So, like all those
That's
things
brilliant,
combined,
Hamza.
absolutely,
You've
yeah. So
actually
all
been
those things
really
combined is
lucky
why
as
we
well.
made it. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
So sorry to cut you over here as well.
Not
But
at all,
now,
not at all.
of course, we do realize that you actually took an immense or actually a really great initiative along with, you said 70 other volunteers. So towards the end, I
700.
want you to tell me.
700.
700. Oh, brilliant. Sorry. What is the future of Alloy? And I mean, do you have any expansion plans? Is this just a Corona thing or is this a for everything?
So that's a good question. So I think that the best way to answer what our future is going to be is to tell you a very, very little bit about our past. So Project Alloy was conceptualized on the basis of an idea which we put forward into the Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 Design Challenge. And that was a huge international health camp. Again, when we started off, we had no idea that this was going to go so far. And it kind of it did, and we got an honorable mention at the incubation camp, which we never thought would be possible for a small team from Pakistan. Now, given that, and given the mentorship and advice that we've received from Johns Hopkins over the course of time, as well as from our various mentors and advisors, what we want right now in the future is for this primarily to look at COVID-19 at the moment. But in the future, we want to continue our role in kind of helping doctors, helping nurses get the personal protective equipment that they require, get the medical equipment that they require to save lives.
And that's
So,
brilliant. That's brilliant, Hamza. But since we're running short of time, very
absolutely.
quickly, first of all, what I need to ask is that how many PPEs or personal protective equipment have you actually delivered or probably made sure that it's going to get to people so that we talk about a number that, okay, 2,500, 3,000. Not just that. If today, as of today, if a doctor or if a healthcare provider wants to order something, how do you think that they can order through Alloy? There's a website? Can we please make a mention over here?
So it's very simple. There is a website. It's www.theprojectalloy.org. We have a phone number.
www.projectalloy.org.
Yeah.
Theprojectalloy.org.
The project, okay.
Yeah. We have a number. You can call us up. It's 0300 019 stack. So for a doctor that wants personal protective equipment, we are here for you. We are completely here to kind of help you and support you however you need. It's just a matter of going on the website, contacting us through the website. We have at the moment over a dozen national level suppliers and donors from across Pakistan. So, Alhamdulillah, shortage is not a problem that we're dealing with right now. And because we continue to expand, we're getting more suppliers under our kind of wing. So it's just a matter of contact. We will then go through those 14 suppliers, find the equipment that you require on your specifications at your price, and we will then facilitate the whole facilitate the delivery of personal protective equipment to you. So that's pretty much it. If you are a
Wonderful.
healthcare provider, do contact us. We are here to help you.
Wonderful, and it's
Thank you
definitely
so
going
much for
to actually change the landscape of healthcare providers and
We hope so.
healthcare
We hope
equipment
so.
providers as well. You guys have done a phenomenal job, and the sole purpose of having you on television today was to actually let people know about the project. Alloy.org, ladies and gentlemen, you can get your PPEs from there as well. But not just that, so that we can actually acknowledge the kind of effort you and the rest of the 699 people have made alongside you as well, and Aga Khan University at the same time, for enabling you people to come up with such brilliant ideas. You are definitely the future of Pakistan, and I see that the future is very bright.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And Shahzada, I feel like every other day we were so inspired today as well. And especially when your inspiration is coming from such young, brilliant people. I mean, it really takes you to an entirely different place.
The
as well.
adrenaline rush, man. I
I
think it
know,
feels good.
right? So I really hope you guys took away something from this show as well. Do write to us on our Facebook page to let us know with the name of.
Well, this morning on your television screens down below, please, yes, here, somewhere
And
here.
on Twitter, you can contact us at.
Well, this morning without a G.
On YouTube.
On YouTube, you'll actually have to look for PTV World and then go to World This Morning, the most viewed show on the channel. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, absolutely. And then for the repeat of this show.
5 past 11 p.m. tonight. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Stay
Have
safe.
a good day. Bye.